From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, September 2nd, 2016. Silver is trading at $19.26 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,326 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $580. AntiWarcom reports and comments on Australian radio. U.S. Army Assistant Chief of Staff Colonel Tom Hansen warned that the Australian government needs to make a decision between its alliance with the United States or its efforts to improve economic ties with China, saying the time was fast approaching that they would need to decide which was more vital to their national interest. The United States is a longtime military ally of Australia, but a fairly minor customer for the country's exports. China, on the other hand, is by far Australia's largest trading partner, both as an importer and exporter, and the country's reliance on natural resources, which Australia has in abundance, has made them natural trading partners. Australian officials have offered some statements of support for U.S. efforts to contest China's maritime claims in the South China Sea, and some Australian politicians are warning that they believe that their reliance on trade with China is giving China growing diplomatic influence with them. Pentagon officials later sought to downplay the comments, insisting that Colonel Hansen, despite being a very high-ranking official in the Army, did not necessarily represent the position of the U.S. government. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports Hurricane Hermine is stirring up trouble on Florida's west coast and is expected to create life-threatening conditions for thousands of residents when it makes landfall. The National Hurricane Center said Hermine was upgraded from a tropical storm to a Category 1 hurricane on Thursday. The storm was expected to make landfall in the Big Bend area of Florida in the early hours Friday morning. On Thursday, Governor Rick Scott urged residents to take precautions to stay safe as the storm rolled in. The storm is expected to dump up to a foot of rain in some areas and bring wind gusts of up to 75 miles per hour and heavy flooding into Friday. The tropical force winds are expected to extend out 140 miles and up to 20 inches of rain is forecast in some areas. Much of the coastal southeastern United States could see heavy rain in the coming days. Once the storm hits land, it is expected to weaken and move up the east coast. Hermine is the first hurricane to hit Florida since Wilma in 2005. When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.xyz, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.xyz today to find out more. Reuters reports an explosion destroyed a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket and its cargo during preparations for a routine test firing at Cape Canaveral in Florida on Thursday, 2 days before it was scheduled to blast off into space to place a satellite into orbit. SpaceX said there were no injuries and that an anomaly during the static test firing resulted in the loss of the rocket and a communication satellite owned by Israel-based Space Communications, which was going to be used by Facebook to expand internet access in Africa. Video showed a fiery blast ripping through the upper part of the rocket before the vehicle collapsed in flames on the launch pad at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station just after 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. A plume of black smoke poured into the air. The company said late on Thursday in a statement that the rocket's loss occurred while the first and second stages were being filled with propellant. It was not immediately known to what extent the SpaceX launch pad was damaged or what impact that would have on the dozens of NASA and commercial satellite missions on its launch schedule. The company has 2 other launch sites and a 4th is being built in Texas. SpaceX had been due to launch its 29th Falcon 9 rocket, which carries a list price of $62 million, before dawn on Saturday, carrying the Spacecom-owned Amos 6 satellite. Facebook would have been among the customers for bandwidth on the satellite. Last year, it said it was partnering with Eutelsat Communications to boost data connectivity to large parts of sub-Saharan Africa. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.